There is a house in Forest Hill, Cleveland, Ohio that no longer exists. It was demolished in 1941. It had 640 rooms. Not 640 rooms in the way that exaggeration works. 640 rooms in the way that the building records of Cuyahoga County, Ohio, documented them when the property was assessed for tax purposes. The man who built it was John Davison Rockefeller, the richest man in American history, the man whose fortune, adjusted for inflation, exceeds that of any American who has lived since. He built this house in 1878. He spent 30 years modifying and expanding it. He left it in 1917. He lived until 1937. He was 97 years old when he died. He never went back. The house stood empty for 20 years. Then it burned in 1917. Then it was demolished in 1941. The story of what happened inside it is the story of what Standard Oil cost the people who lived nearest to it. Not the people it competed with. The people it employed. The people it owned. The family inside the house. John D. Rockefeller married Laura Celestia Spellman in 1864. She was 23, he was 25. They had known each other since they were teenagers. Laura Spellman's family were abolitionists. Her parents had operated a station on the Underground Railroad. She had graduated from Oriad Collegiate Institute in Worcester, Massachusetts, one of the few institutions in America that offered women a rigorous academic education in the 1860s. She was, by the standards of her era, an unusually educated and unusually principled woman. She married a man who was becoming the most ruthless businessman in American history. She stayed married to him for 50 years. She raised 4 children in his house. She managed his household. She managed his philanthropy. She managed him. People who knew the Rockefellers said privately that Laura was the only person John Rockefeller consistently listened to, that her influence on his charitable giving was substantial. That Spelman College in Atlanta, founded in 1881 for the education of black women, was named for her family because she had insisted on it. That the man the world knew as the ruthless architect of Standard Oil was a different person inside the house at Forest Hill. More careful, more considered, more human. Whether that is true or simply the story that families tell about their most powerful members, nobody outside the family could verify. What is verifiable is the house. And the house tells its own story. Forest Hill was not originally a grand estate. Rockefeller purchased the property in 1873. It was a farm, a working farm with a modest house. He began modifying it almost immediately, not as a demonstration of wealth. That was not his style. John D. Rockefeller had no interest in the kind of competitive display that drove the Vanderbilts and the Astors. He was not building to impress. He was building because the farm was inadequate and he had the resources to make it adequate, and his standards for adequacy were high. The modifications continued for 30 years. Each year something was added. A greenhouse, a stable complex, guest cottages, a casino building for entertainment. By 1905, the property covered 3,000 acres. The main house had grown to its eventual size through accretion rather than design. It had not been planned as a 640-room structure. It had become one. Room added to room, wing added to wing, the whole thing expanding with the fortune that paid for it. The children who grew up in this house were not ordinary children. They were the children of the richest man in the world, and they knew it from the time they were old enough to understand what money was. John D. Rockefeller Jr., known as Junior, was the only son. He had 3 sisters. His father ran the household with the same systematic efficiency he applied to Standard Oil. Allowances were documented. Earnings from small tasks were recorded in ledgers. The children learned to account for every cent. They were taught that wealth was a responsibility, that it could be used well or badly, that the choice of how to use it was the most important choice they would ever make. Junior absorbed this. He spent his life attempting to spend the Rockefeller fortune responsibly. He funded the restoration of colonial Williamsburg. He built Rockefeller Center. He donated the land for the United Nations headquarters. He created the national park system as it is currently structured. He gave away more money in his lifetime than most governments collect in taxes. He also, at his father's direction, testified before Congress in 1915 in defense of the Ludlow Massacre. The Colorado Fuel and Iron Company, which the Rockefeller family controlled, had used the Colorado National Guard to break a miners' strike. The Guard attacked the strikers' tent colony. 21 people died. 11 of them were children. Junior had not ordered the attack. He had not known it would happen. He had not visited the mines. He had managed from a distance, from the house at Forest Hill, from the office in New York, from the careful remove of extreme wealth. He spent the rest of his life in a form of public penance that never quite satisfied the people who thought it should. The house at Forest Hill was where he learned to account for every cent. It did not teach him what the cents were buying at Ludlow. John D. Rockefeller stopped coming to Forest Hill in 1917. He was 77 years old. He had been coming here for 40 years. He had another 20 years to live. He went to Florida. He went to New York. He went to Pocantico Hills, the Rockefeller estate in Westchester County that was the family's primary residence. He did not go back to Forest Hill. The house stood empty. The staff that had maintained it was reassigned or let go. The 3,000 acres went without the full attention they had required. Then in 1917, the main house caught fire. The cause was never definitively established. The fire damaged significant portions of the structure. Rockefeller was informed. He did not come back to assess the damage. He sent representatives. The representatives reported that the cost of restoration was substantial. Rockefeller authorized partial repairs. The house was stabilized but not fully restored. It stood in its partially repaired state for another 20 years. John D. Rockefeller died in May 1937. He was 97 years old. He had not seen Forest Hill in 20 years. In 1940, the property was donated to the city of East Cleveland and the village of Cleveland Heights. In 1941, the main house was demolished. The 3,000 acres became a public park, Forest Hill Park. It is still a public park today. People walk their dogs where the Rockefeller family spent their summers. Children play on the grounds where the richest man in American history grew his fortune into something no individual had ever accumulated before. There is no marker describing what the house looked like. There is no record of the 640 rooms in any form accessible to a casual visitor. The park is pleasant. It gives no indication of what was here. The cruel question at the center of Forest Hill's story is this: the house where Standard Oil's fortune was managed is gone. The people it hurt at Ludlow have monuments now. The park that replaced the house is used by the communities that Standard Oil dominated. The richest man in American history lived to 97. He spent his last decades giving away money as fast as he could. He never came back to the house where he had started. He had built it as a farm, and it had grown into something that reflected what he had become. He left it before he had to watch it fall. The city knocked it down 3 years after he died. The land belongs to everyone now. He would have found the arithmetic satisfying. Did you know about the Forest Hill estate before today? Tell me in the comments what you think the Rockefeller family owed the people of Ludlow.